My best friend demands I pay for her honeymoon after she brought my ex-fiancé to my wedding as her +1. Rachel was my best friend since middle school. We did everything together. She was there when my ex-fiancé Adam cheated on me with my coworker 2 months before our wedding. I caught them in our apartment, in our bed. Rachel held me while I cried for weeks. She helped me cancel vendors, return gifts, move out of the apartment. She called Adam a worthless piece of trash who didn't deserve me. Said she'd never speak to him again. That was 3 years ago. After Adam, I focused on myself, went to therapy, got promoted at my consulting firm, started running marathons, met someone amazing at a charity 5K. His name was Noah, kind, honest, successful surgeon, the opposite of Adam. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. Real proposal, real ring, real love. When I started planning the wedding, Rachel was my first call. Made her my maid of honor. She cried saying she was so happy I found someone worthy. The wedding was destination, Costa Rica. Expensive, but Noah and I wanted something special. We paid for the wedding party's flights and hotels. Rachel's ticket alone cost $1,800, plus her ocean view suite for 4 nights. Another $2,000. She kept saying she couldn't wait to celebrate my happiness. The morning of the wedding, I'm getting ready with my bridesmaids. Rachel's doing my hair. Everything's perfect. Then she mentioned she brought someone. Figured I wouldn't mind since we paid for a suite with 2 beds. She wanted me to meet him at the ceremony. I thought maybe she'd started dating someone new. The ceremony starts. I'm walking down the aisle. I see Noah at the altar smiling. Then I see the guests. My parents, Noah's family, our friends. And in the 3rd row, next to Rachel, is Adam. My ex-fiancé who destroyed me, at my wedding, as Rachel's date. I almost stopped walking. Noah saw my face change, grabbed my hand tighter when I reached him. I made it through the vows somehow. During the kiss, I could see Adam smirking. At the cocktail hour, Rachel brought Adam over. Actually brought him to introduce him to Noah. Said they'd reconnected 6 months ago. She knew I'd be weird about it, so she didn't mention it. But she figured my wedding day was perfect for showing me I'd moved on and we could all be friends. Adam shook Noah's hand, congratulated him, said I looked beautiful, like he belonged there. Noah pulled me away before I said something that would ruin the day. The reception was torture. Rachel gave a maid of honor speech about true love conquering all, about second chances, about forgiveness, while sitting next to the man who cheated on me. They slow danced during our first dance, fed each other cake during the cake cutting. Adam caught the garter when Noah threw it. Rachel squealed like it was fate. Other guests started asking me why my ex was there. My aunt pulled me aside, confused. Noah's mother looked horrified. His sister asked if I was okay. I spent my wedding reception explaining to everyone that I didn't invite him. That night, Noah and I left the reception early. Our wedding night was me crying while he held me, kept apologizing for not throwing them out, but it was my choice to avoid more drama. Rachel texted me that night, said Adam felt bad about how things ended. He'd grown so much. They were happy. I should be happy for them. The next morning at breakfast, they sat at the table next to ours. Adam wearing swim trunks I'd bought him years ago. Rachel feeding him fruit from the buffet. They spent the rest of the trip using the amenities we'd paid for. The spa, the excursions, the private beach dinner meant for the wedding party. 3 weeks later, Rachel calls me. She's engaged. Adam proposed on the beach in Costa Rica. My wedding destination inspired them. They realized life was too short. Now they want a destination wedding too. Somewhere tropical, maybe Thailand or Bali. Here's the thing though, they're saving for a house. Wedding planning is expensive. Since I didn't give them a wedding gift in Costa Rica, and she was my maid of honor, maybe I could pay for their honeymoon? Just $5,000? She'd paid for my bachelorette party decorations after all. That was $50 at the party store, but who's counting? I told her she had to be joking. She said I had Noah now. I was happy. Why couldn't I be happy for her? Why was I being so selfish about the past? She actually said bringing Adam to my wedding was exposure therapy for me. That she'd helped me heal by showing me I was over him. That I should thank her. I hung up. She called Noah's phone, left a voicemail saying I was being petty and jealous, that I couldn't stand seeing her happy, that I was ruining her engagement joy just like I tried to ruin Adam's life after the breakup. I called my friend Lloyd, who works in hospitality, asked for a favor. He managed the resort where Rachel now wanted to have her wedding. I told him the story. He was appalled. 2 days later, Rachel called me screaming. The resort had blacklisted her. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I picked it up and saw Rachel's name flashing across the screen for what felt like the 100th time. 17 calls in 2 hours. Each voicemail got worse than the last. The first few were just angry, calling me petty and jealous. Then she started crying, saying I ruined everything she'd been planning. By message 12, she was threatening to sue me. The last voicemail made my blood run cold. She said she was contacting her lawyer about defamation and interference with business relationships, like she had any legal ground to stand on. I almost laughed, but mostly I just felt sick. This was Rachel, my best friend since we were 12 years old, the person who knew every secret I'd ever had. Now she was threatening to take me to court because I told someone the truth about what she did at my wedding. I sat on the kitchen floor with my phone in my hand, playing the voicemails on speaker. I needed to hear them again to make sure this was really happening. Noah came home from his shift at the hospital around 7 and found me there, still in my work clothes, surrounded by the sound of Rachel's voice getting more and more unhinged. He didn't say anything at first, just took the phone out of my hand, blocked her number, and set it on the counter. Then he pulled out his own phone and ordered Thai food from the place down the street. I watched him move around the kitchen, getting plates ready, pouring water, acting like everything was normal when nothing felt normal anymore. 15 years of friendship, gone. Just completely gone. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Noah sat down next to me on the floor and handed me a glass of water. He told me to drink it. I did. We sat there in silence until the food arrived, and even then, I couldn't really eat. I kept thinking about all those voicemails, all that anger, all those threats. This person didn't sound like my friend. She sounded like a stranger. I called Lloyd after dinner because I needed to know if Rachel had gone after him too. My hands shook while I dialed his number. He picked up on the second ring and I could hear music in the background. I asked if he was okay, if Rachel had contacted him, if he was in trouble at work. Lloyd laughed. Actually laughed. He said the resort had already been on the fence about Rachel's booking because she'd been rude to the staff during her initial calls. Apparently, she'd yelled at someone in reservations about upgrade options and made demands about special treatment. My story just confirmed what they already suspected about her. Lloyd said his boss thanked him for the heads up and told him they didn't need clients like that anyway. The resort's reputation mattered more than one difficult bride. I felt relief wash over me. At least I hadn't dragged Lloyd into my mess. At least Rachel couldn't hurt him professionally. We talked for a few more minutes and he told me not to worry. He had my back. When I hung up, Noah was watching me from the couch. He asked if everything was okay with Lloyd. I nodded. One less thing to stress about. That night, I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. Around 11, Noah's phone started buzzing. He was in the shower, so I glanced at the screen. Rachel. She was texting him now. Long paragraphs about how I ruined her life and destroyed her dreams. How I was a terrible friend who couldn't stand to see her happy. How I'd always been jealous of her relationship with Adam. The messages kept coming, one after another, filling up his screen. I felt my stomach twist. She was trying to get to me through Noah now. When he got out of the shower, I showed him the messages. His jaw tightened. He typed out one response telling her to stop contacting us and leave us alone. Then he blocked her number too. We got into bed, but neither of us could sleep. I kept thinking about those texts, about how desperate Rachel sounded. Noah held my hand in the dark. He didn't say much. He didn't need to. We both knew this wasn't over. I woke up to 3 text messages from mutual friends, all asking the same thing. What's going on with Rachel? I checked Facebook on my laptop while Noah made coffee. Rachel had posted a status update late last night, something vague about fake friends who smile to your face then stab you in the back, about people who can't handle your happiness, about discovering who your real friends are. She didn't mention my name, but she didn't have to. Everyone knew who she meant. The post had 30 comments already. People asking if she was okay. People telling her to stay strong. People saying she deserved better friends. I felt sick reading through them. Within the next hour, 2 more friends texted me, then another. Everyone wanted to know what happened. I didn't know what to say. How do you explain this situation without sounding petty? How do you tell people your best friend brought your cheating ex to your wedding without it turning into gossip? I stared at my phone for a long time before responding to anyone. I spent my lunch break at work crafting responses to the mutual friends who'd reached out. I sat in my car in the parking garage, typing and deleting, trying to find the right words. I decided to stick to facts. No drama, no emotion, just what actually happened. I told them Rachel brought Adam to my wedding in Costa Rica as her +1. I explained that we'd paid for her flight and hotel. I mentioned the honeymoon payment demand, the exposure therapy comment. I kept it simple and clear. Some people responded right away with shock and support. Others didn't respond at all. I could feel the friend group starting to fracture. People were choosing sides and I hated it. This wasn't high school. We were all adults. But apparently betrayal makes people act like teenagers again. I put my phone away and went back to work. But I couldn't focus on spreadsheets and client reports. My brain kept circling back to Rachel and those Facebook comments and wondering who believed her version of events. Ophelia stopped by my desk around 3. She works in the next department over, and we'd become friends over the past year. She pulled up a chair and asked if I had a minute. I said sure. She told me she'd heard through the office grapevine that something happened with my friend from the wedding. Word travels fast in consulting firms. I gave her the short version. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she looked mad. Really mad. She said Rachel sounded like a nightmare and offered to be a character witness if Rachel actually tried to sue me. I almost cried right there at my desk. Having someone in my corner who wasn't Noah or family meant more than I could explain. Ophelia squeezed my shoulder and told me to let her know if I needed anything. Then she went back to her desk and I felt a little less alone. It's weird how the smallest gestures of support can make such a big difference when everything feels like it's falling apart. Tamara called that evening while I was making dinner. Noah's sister. She'd been at the wedding and seen the whole Adam situation unfold. She wanted to check on us, make sure we were okay. She offered to talk to mutual friends who might not understand the full situation, who might believe Rachel's version of events. I appreciated the offer but told her I didn't want to drag more people into this mess. Tamara said she understood, but she wanted me to know she was there if I changed my mind. We talked for about 20 minutes. She told me stories about other family drama she'd witnessed over the years, trying to make me feel better. It helped a little. When we hung up, Noah asked how his sister was doing. I told him she was worried about us. He nodded. His whole family had been horrified by what happened at the wedding. They'd all seen Adam there, seen Rachel's maid of honor speech, seen the whole disaster unfold. At least I didn't have to explain myself to his family. They'd witnessed it firsthand. 2 days after Lloyd blacklisted Rachel from the resort, I got a message request on Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. No profile picture, no posts, obviously a burner account. I opened it and saw a wall of text from Rachel. She'd created a fake account just to reach me. The message was long and rambling. She said Adam was the love of her life all along, that she'd settled for friendship with me for years because she couldn't have him, that watching me get engaged to Noah made her realize she needed to fight for what she wanted, that bringing him to my wedding was her way of showing everyone they belonged together. The revisionist history was so blatant I had to read it twice. She was rewriting our entire friendship, making it sound like she'd been pining for Adam the whole time, even when he was engaged to me. Even when she held me while I cried after he cheated. Even when she called him worthless trash. Now suddenly he was her soulmate, and I was just an obstacle she had to overcome. I sat there staring at my phone, not sure whether to laugh or scream. This wasn't the person I'd known for 15 years. This was someone else entirely. I took screenshots of the Instagram message, every single part of it. Then I saved them in a folder on my computer labeled with Rachel's name and the date. I wasn't sure why I was documenting everything. Maybe I thought I'd need proof later. Maybe I was just trying to make sense of what was happening. Noah came into the bedroom and asked what I was doing. I showed him the message. He read through it with his eyebrows raised higher and higher. When he finished, he said I was protecting myself. That keeping records was smart. That Rachel's behavior was escalating and unpredictable. I hadn't thought about it that way, but he was right. Part of me still wanted to believe this would blow over, that Rachel would calm down and we'd figure out how to move forward. But another part of me knew that wasn't going to happen. This friendship was over, really over, and I needed to accept that and protect myself from whatever came next. The next morning, Kendrick called while I was making coffee. His voice sounded different from usual, more serious. He asked if I had time to talk about what happened with Rachel. I told him I had all the time in the world since I wasn't exactly sleeping well anyway. He started by saying he'd seen Rachel's Facebook post about fake friends and backstabbing. He thought it was about some work drama she'd mentioned before. Then someone at a party last night told him the real story. About Adam showing up at my wedding, about Rachel bringing him as her date, about the whole mess in Costa Rica. Kendrick kept saying he couldn't believe it. He asked me to walk him through everything that happened that day. I started with the morning, doing my hair with Rachel, her mentioning she brought someone, then seeing Adam in the third row during my ceremony, the way he smirked during our kiss, how Rachel introduced him to Noah at the cocktail hour like it was totally normal, the maid of honor speech about second chances while sitting next to my cheating ex. Kendrick interrupted a few times to ask if I was serious, if this actually happened. Each time I confirmed it, he got quieter. When I finished describing the reception, he was silent for almost a full minute. Then he said Rachel told everyone a completely different version. She said I attacked her relationship with Adam, that I couldn't handle seeing her happy, that I was jealous because Adam chose her over me. Kendrick said she'd been posting vague stuff for weeks about toxic people and moving on from negativity. He never connected it to me until last night. He told me some of our mutual friends were buying Rachel's version because she got to them first. She'd been calling people, crying, saying I was trying to ruin her engagement, that I got her blacklisted from a resort out of spite. She left out the part about bringing Adam to my wedding, the part about demanding I pay for her honeymoon, the exposure therapy comment. Kendrick said he believed me completely. He remembered how destroyed I was after Adam cheated, how Rachel held me through all of it. The idea that she'd bring him to my wedding made him feel sick. But he wanted me to know that Rachel was doing damage control with our friend group, painting herself as the victim, making me look like the villain who couldn't let go of the past. I thanked him for calling and telling me the truth, for not just believing whatever Rachel posted on social media. He said, of course, but his warning stayed with me after we hung up. Rachel was rewriting history with everyone we knew. I went to work and buried myself in preparing for a major client presentation. The project involved restructuring a manufacturing company's supply chain. Numbers and logistics and process flows, nothing emotional, nothing personal. Just clean, logical problems with clear solutions. I stayed at my desk through lunch, working on slides and data analysis. My boss walked by around 3 and noticed I was still there. She stopped and asked if everything was okay. I told her the presentation was in 2 days and I wanted it perfect. She sat down in the chair across from my desk, said she'd noticed I was staying late every night this week, working through lunches, coming in early. She asked gently if something was going on outside of work. I considered lying, saying everything was fine, but my boss had always been good to me, fair, understanding. I told her I was dealing with some personal drama, a former friend causing problems, nothing that would affect my work. She nodded slowly, said she appreciated my dedication but didn't want me burning out, suggested I take a few days off to handle whatever was happening, get some distance, come back fresh. I thanked her but said I'd rather stay busy. Work was the only place where I didn't have to think about Rachel, where I could focus on something productive instead of replaying the wedding over and over. My boss looked concerned but didn't push. She told me her door was open if I needed to talk. Then she left me to my spreadsheets. That afternoon, Noah texted me from the hospital, asked if I could call when I had a minute. His message had an edge to it that made my stomach drop. I stepped into an empty conference room and called him back. He answered on the first ring. His voice was tight. He told me Rachel had somehow gotten his work email address. She'd sent him a message through the hospital system, called him a spineless enabler who let his wife bully people, said he should be ashamed of himself for supporting my vindictive behavior. The email went to his general hospital account that multiple doctors and staff could access. Noah's colleague Malik had been using the shared computer in the break room when the email popped up. He'd seen Rachel's name and the first few lines before Noah could close it. Malik asked if everything was okay at home, if Noah and I were having problems. Noah had to explain the whole situation right there in the break room with 2 other doctors listening. He told Malik about Adam showing up at our wedding, about Rachel's maid of honor speech while sitting next to my ex, about the honeymoon payment demand, about the exposure therapy comment. Malik remembered being at the wedding. He'd come as Noah's guest. He said he thought it was weird that my ex was there, but figured maybe we were all friends or something. He didn't realize the full extent of how messed up the situation was. Malik told Noah he'd be happy to provide a statement if we needed one, that he witnessed the whole reception and saw how uncomfortable I looked, how Rachel and Adam acted like they belonged there. Noah thanked him and said he'd let him know, but he was furious that Rachel had contacted his workplace, that she was trying to make him look bad to his colleagues. I told him I was sorry, that I never thought she'd go after him too. He said it wasn't my fault. Rachel was escalating, getting more desperate. We needed to be careful. A week after Lloyd blacklisted Rachel from the resort, I met 3 of our mutual friends for coffee. 2 of them, Jessica and Jasper, had reached out separately asking to hear my side. The third, Lauren, came because Jessica invited her. We sat in the back corner of a coffee shop downtown. Jessica started by saying she'd seen Rachel's Facebook posts and heard rumors. She wanted to know what actually happened. I walked them through the whole story again. The wedding, Adam in the 3rd row, Rachel's maid of honor speech, the honeymoon payment demand, the blacklist. Jessica and Jasper looked horrified. They kept shaking their heads, saying they couldn't believe Rachel would do that. Jasper said he'd always thought Rachel was a good friend to me, that this seemed completely out of character. Jessica agreed but said the evidence was pretty clear. Rachel had brought my cheating ex to my wedding without telling me. That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was a choice. Lauren stayed quiet through most of the conversation. She stirred her coffee and looked uncomfortable. When I finished explaining everything, she finally spoke up. She said maybe I overreacted by getting the resort involved. That seemed like taking things too far. I stared at her, asked what she meant. Lauren said Rachel made a mistake bringing Adam. Obviously, that was wrong. But getting her blacklisted from a resort was pretty extreme. Maybe I should have just talked to Rachel about my feelings instead of going nuclear. Jessica jumped in and said Rachel demanded $5,000 for her honeymoon, that she called bringing Adam exposure therapy. That wasn't just a mistake. That was calculated. Lauren shrugged, said relationships were complicated, that I seemed happy with Noah now. Maybe the conversation went downhill from there. Lauren kept saying things like Rachel deserves happiness too, and people make mistakes, and you need to learn to forgive. I realized she wasn't actually interested in hearing my side. She'd already decided I was wrong, that I was being petty and vindictive, that I couldn't handle Rachel being with Adam. Jasper tried to defend me, said bringing someone's cheating ex to their wedding wasn't just a mistake, it was cruel. Lauren said I was making it about me when it was really about Rachel and Adam's relationship, that I needed to get over the past. Jessica told Lauren she was being ridiculous, that if someone brought her ex to her wedding, she'd lose it too. Lauren said that's why she tries not to hold grudges, that life's too short to be angry all the time. I felt my face getting hot. My hands were shaking. I put my coffee cup down before I spilled it, told Lauren that she was right. Life was too short to waste time with people who thought bringing my cheating ex to my wedding was just a mistake. Too short to explain myself to someone who valued peace over justice. I stood up and grabbed my purse. Jessica and Jasper looked relieved. Lauren looked offended. I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. I sat in my car in the parking lot and called Noah. My hands were still shaking. He answered right away, asked how the coffee meeting went. I told him about Lauren, about her saying I overreacted, that Rachel just made a mistake, that I should have communicated better. Noah was quiet for a second. Then he said anyone who thinks bringing your cheating ex to your wedding is just a mistake isn't worth keeping in your life. That Lauren was showing me who she really was. Someone who values avoiding conflict over standing up for what's right. Someone who would rather blame me for being upset than blame Rachel for being cruel. He said I deserved friends who had my back, who understood that some things aren't forgivable, that boundaries matter. I felt better after talking to him. Not great, but better. I realized Noah was right. Lauren had shown me exactly who she was. Someone I couldn't count on when things got hard. Someone who would rather smooth things over than acknowledge real harm. I didn't need that in my life. 3 days later, Rachel posted a long essay on Facebook. It wasn't tagged to anyone specific, but everyone knew who she meant. The post talked about toxic people who can't forgive, about moving forward from negativity, about how some people would rather hold on to anger than embrace happiness, about second chances and growth and leaving the past behind. She wrote about people who smile to your face then stab you in the back, who pretend to support you but secretly want you to fail, who can't handle seeing others succeed. The post was long, really long. Paragraphs and paragraphs of vague accusations wrapped in self-help language. She never used my name, but she mentioned details that made it obvious. A destination wedding, a maid of honor who tried her best, a friend who turned on her out of jealousy. The post got 40 comments within an hour, people saying they were sorry she was going through this, that she deserved better, that toxic people weren't worth her energy, that she was strong and brave for moving forward. Some people I didn't even know were commenting, offering support, saying they'd been through similar situations with jealous friends. A few mutual friends commented too, saying they loved her and were there for her, that she'd get through this, that real friends would stick by her. I read the whole thing twice. Each comment felt like a punch. These people had no idea what actually happened. They were responding to Rachel's version, the version where she was the victim, where I was the villain, where bringing Adam to my wedding was somehow justified because I couldn't let go of the past. The next day at work, Ophelia stopped by my desk. She looked uncomfortable, asked if she could talk to me privately. We went into a small conference room. She closed the door. Told me a client had asked her if everything was okay with me. The client was apparently friends with Rachel on Facebook, had seen the long post about toxic people, put together that it was about me based on some details Rachel mentioned. The client asked Ophelia if there was drama affecting my work, if I was okay, if the company knew about the situation. Ophelia shut it down immediately, told the client my personal life was none of their business, that my work was excellent and professional, that she wouldn't discuss it further. But Ophelia wanted me to know it had come up, that Rachel's Facebook campaign was bleeding into my professional life. I felt my face burn with embarrassment. This was exactly what I'd been afraid of, that Rachel's version of events would spread everywhere, that people would judge me without knowing the truth, that my reputation would take hits I couldn't control. Ophelia said she had my back, that anyone who asked would get the same response. But she thought I should know what was being said. I thanked her, told her I appreciated her support. Then I went back to my desk and tried to focus on work. Tried not to think about how many other people had seen Rachel's post, how many believed her version, how much damage she was doing to my life while playing the victim online. I sat back at my desk and tried to work on the client report that was due Friday. My hands were shaking too much to type. Every time I looked at my screen, I saw Rachel's Facebook post instead of the spreadsheet. The words kept running through my head. Toxic people who smile to your face then stab you in the back. People who can't handle seeing others succeed. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, locked myself in the last stall. My chest felt tight, like someone was sitting on it. I couldn't breathe right. Short little gasps that didn't fill my lungs. This was stupid. Rachel shouldn't have this much power over me. She was just one person, just one friendship that went bad. But my heart was racing anyway. My vision got spotty around the edges. I put my head between my knees and tried to count my breaths. In for 4, out for 4, in for 4, out for 4. The bathroom door opened. Footsteps. Then Ophelia's voice asking if I was okay. I didn't answer at first. Couldn't get enough air to speak. She knocked on the stall door, asked again. I managed to say I was fine. She didn't leave, just waited. Eventually, I unlocked the door. She took one look at my face and sat down on the bathroom floor next to me. Didn't say anything about the tile being gross or her nice pants getting dirty. Just sat there while I tried to stop crying. When I could talk, I told her I was having a panic attack, that Rachel was taking up too much space in my head, that I couldn't stop thinking about her posts and her lies and how many people believed her version. Ophelia listened. Then she said something I hadn't considered. That Rachel contacting clients and spreading lies about me at work might count as harassment. That I should talk to HR. Document everything in case it got worse. I wiped my face with toilet paper. Told her I didn't want to make it a bigger deal than it was. She looked at me seriously. Said it was already a big deal if I was having panic attacks at work. That protecting myself wasn't dramatic. It was smart. I went to HR that afternoon. Felt weird walking into their office like I was tattling. But I brought screenshots of everything. Rachel's Facebook posts, the texts to Noah's phone, the Instagram message from the burner account. The HR person, this woman named Kendall, listened to the whole story without interrupting. She took notes, asked questions about dates and times, whether Rachel knew where I worked, whether she'd contacted anyone at the company directly. I told her about the client asking Ophelia about me. Kendall's face got serious. She said they would document everything, create a file in case Rachel escalated. If she contacted my workplace or clients again, they'd have grounds for a cease and desist letter, maybe even legal action. She also said my job wasn't at risk, that they took workplace harassment seriously, even when it came from outside sources. She offered me access to the Employee Assistance Program, free counseling sessions with a therapist. I took the information, thanked her for taking me seriously. Walking back to my desk, I felt lighter, like someone else was carrying part of the weight now. That night, Noah got home from the hospital around 8. I was on the couch scrolling through my phone, checking if Rachel had posted anything new. He saw what I was doing, sighed, asked why I was still looking at her social media. I said I needed to know what she was saying. He sat down next to me, said I should just block her everywhere and stop engaging, that I was torturing myself by keeping tabs on her. Something in me snapped. I told him it wasn't that simple, that Rachel was poisoning our entire social circle, that I couldn't just ignore it when people I cared about were believing her lies. He said our real friends would know the truth, that anyone who believed Rachel wasn't worth keeping. I said he didn't understand because his friends weren't involved. His life wasn't being affected. He could just ignore the whole thing because it wasn't happening to him. His face changed. Got that closed-off look he gets when he's hurt. He said he was trying to help, that watching me obsess over Rachel was killing him. I said maybe he should try being more supportive instead of telling me to just get over it. He stood up, walked to the bedroom, closed the door harder than necessary. We didn't speak for 3 hours. I stayed on the couch. He stayed in the bedroom. I could hear him moving around in there, opening drawers, running water in the bathroom, normal sounds that felt wrong because we were fighting. I kept replaying the conversation, feeling bad about what I'd said. He was being supportive. He'd been nothing but supportive since Costa Rica. But I'd snapped at him anyway because I was stressed and angry and Rachel was in my head. Around 11, the bedroom door opened. Noah came out in his pajamas, sat down on the couch next to me, said he was sorry, That he was frustrated because he couldn't fix this for me. That watching me hurt made him feel helpless and useless. That he'd suggested blocking Rachel because he wanted to make it stop, not because he didn't care. I started crying, told him I was sorry too, that I shouldn't have said he didn't understand or wasn't supportive, that I was taking my stress out on him when he didn't deserve it. He pulled me against his chest, said we needed to talk about how this was affecting our marriage. We stayed up until midnight talking. Really talking. Noah admitted he was worried I was letting Rachel live rent-free in my head, that she was taking up space that should belong to us and our life together. It hurt to hear, but he was right. I'd been so focused on Rachel's lies and social media posts that I'd barely been present in my own marriage. I told him I didn't know how to stop caring what people thought. That 15 years of friendship didn't just disappear because Rachel turned out to be awful. He said he understood. That grief was normal. But he was scared I was getting stuck in it. That I was letting Rachel win by giving her this much power. We made a plan. I'd keep going to therapy. We'd limit how much we talked about Rachel at home. I'd try to focus on the people who believed me instead of the ones who didn't. He'd be more patient when I had bad days. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it felt like progress. 2 weeks after the resort blacklist, Kendrick called me. Said he had something to tell me, but I wasn't going to like it. Rachel had been telling people I'd always had feelings for Adam. That I couldn't handle that he chose her over me. That my anger about the wedding was really just jealousy. I actually laughed. The lie was so ridiculous I couldn't help it. Me, pining for the guy who cheated on me in our bed? The guy I'd spent 3 years getting over in therapy? But then Kendrick said some people were buying it. That Rachel was good at making herself sound believable. The laughter died in my throat. It hurt that anyone might actually think I wanted Adam back. I started noticing things on social media after that. Mutual friends who used to like all my posts were suddenly only liking Rachel's. People who'd commented on my wedding photos were now commenting hearts on her engagement announcement. It probably didn't mean anything. People liked random stuff all the time. But it felt like a statement anyway. Like they were choosing sides. The social media politics of the whole situation were exhausting. I felt like I was back in high school, tracking who sat with who at lunch, who was friends with who in the hallways. It was pathetic, but I couldn't stop doing it. Noah found me scrolling through Facebook for the 3rd time that day, watching who liked what. He sat down next to me. Suggested we deactivate our accounts for a while, just take a break from the drama and the politics and the constant updates. I didn't want to. It felt like letting Rachel win, like hiding. But he pointed out that I was making myself miserable. That social media was feeding my anxiety instead of helping. I agreed reluctantly. We deactivated both accounts that night. The relief was immediate. No more checking Rachel's posts. No more tracking who liked what. No more seeing her smiling face next to Adam in their couple photos. My phone felt lighter in my hand. Without social media as a distraction, I had to actually deal with my feelings. I couldn't avoid them by scrolling or checking for updates. That weekend, I broke down completely. Cried for the first time since the wedding. Not angry crying or frustrated crying. Grief crying. Noah held me on the bathroom floor while I sobbed. I was mourning 15 years of friendship. All the sleepovers and inside jokes and late-night phone calls. The person who knew me better than anyone. Who I'd shared everything with. And it was gone. Rachel had thrown it away like it meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. All those years of friendship, and she'd picked my cheating ex over me. Brought him to my wedding. Demanded I pay for their honeymoon. Made me the villain in her story. It hurt worse than Adam's cheating had. At least with Adam, I'd only lost 2 years. With Rachel, I'd lost half my life. I had a therapy appointment on Tuesday. My therapist's name was Dr. Chen. I'd started seeing her 3 years ago after Adam's affair. Stopped going about a year into dating Noah because I felt better. But I'd called her after the wedding. Told her I needed to come back. She'd made space for me immediately. This session, I told her everything. The wedding, the honeymoon demand, the blacklist, the social media campaign, Rachel's lies about me having feelings for Adam. Dr. Chen listened carefully. Then she said something that made me pause. Rachel's behavior at my wedding wasn't a one-time mistake. It was part of a pattern. Rachel had always needed to be the center of attention. When I got into my dream college, she cried about her rejection letters at my acceptance party. When I got promoted, she spent dinner talking about how unfair her own workplace was. When I started dating Noah, she kept mentioning how lonely she felt being single. I'd always thought it was just her sharing her feelings with her best friend. But Dr. Chen pointed out that Rachel consistently made my good news about her struggles. She couldn't just be happy for me. She had to redirect focus back to herself. The wedding made perfect sense now. My special day became her stage. Her chance to show everyone she had a relationship to. that she was desired, that she'd won something I'd lost. Dr. Chen asked if I'd noticed other patterns over the years. I started listing them. When I ran my first marathon, Rachel signed up for one too, but quit training after 2 weeks. When I got my consulting job, she applied to the same firm and got mad when they didn't hire her. When I bought my first car, she bought a nicer one the next month even though she couldn't afford the payments. Every achievement I had, Rachel either competed with or diminished. She'd say things that sounded supportive but had little digs in them. That my promotion was lucky timing. That Noah was great but maybe too focused on his career. That my apartment was nice but small for the price. Dr. Chen called it covert competition masked as friendship. Rachel couldn't handle me succeeding without feeling threatened. The therapy session left me exhausted but clear-headed. I'd spent 15 years making excuses for behavior that wasn't okay. Telling myself Rachel just had a hard time with good news. That she was sensitive. That she needed extra support. But real friends celebrate your wins without making them about themselves. Real friends don't bring your cheating ex to your wedding to prove a point about their own love life. 3 weeks after the blacklist, I went grocery shopping on a Saturday morning. I was in the produce section picking out tomatoes when someone said my name. I turned around and saw Rachel's cousin standing there with her cart. Her name was Sarah. We'd met at family events over the years. She looked nervous. She asked if we could talk for a minute. I said sure, though my stomach dropped. Sarah pulled me toward the corner by the organic section where fewer people were shopping. She spoke quietly. Said she heard what happened at my wedding. That Rachel's family was concerned about her behavior. That they thought the relationship with Adam was unhealthy. I didn't know what to say. Sarah kept talking. She said Rachel had been different lately. More defensive, more isolated from the family. She only wanted to talk about Adam and the wedding. When family members tried to discuss other topics, Rachel got angry. Sarah's mom, Rachel's aunt, had tried to ask Rachel if she was sure about Adam given his history with me. Rachel screamed at her and didn't speak to her for 2 weeks. The family was walking on eggshells. Sarah apologized for what happened at my wedding. Said the family was horrified when they heard the full story. That bringing Adam was cruel and inexcusable. That demanding money for a honeymoon was insane. She wanted me to know that they didn't support Rachel's choices, that they were worried about her but didn't know how to help. I thanked Sarah for telling me. Said I appreciated knowing the family wasn't okay with what happened. She hugged me quickly and said she hoped I was doing all right. Then she went back to her shopping and I stood there holding a bag of tomatoes. The conversation with Sarah complicated everything. I'd been so focused on my anger at Rachel that I hadn't considered her family's perspective, or that something deeper might be wrong with her. Part of me wanted to stay mad, to write her off as a terrible person who betrayed our friendship. But another part wondered if Rachel was struggling with something bigger than jealousy, if her behavior was getting worse because of mental health issues, if the obsession with Adam and the wedding was a sign of something breaking down. I didn't want to care, didn't want to worry about Rachel after everything she'd done. But I couldn't turn off 15 years of friendship completely. Couldn't stop wondering if she needed help. That night, I told Noah about running into Sarah, about what she said regarding Rachel's behavior with her family. Noah listened while stirring pasta sauce. Then he turned off the stove and faced me. He said mental health struggles don't excuse Rachel's behavior, that even if something is going on with her, she still chose to hurt me deliberately. Multiple times. He reminded me that I wasn't responsible for fixing Rachel, that she had family and presumably other friends who could support her, that I needed to protect myself first. He was right. I knew he was right. But I still felt guilty. Guilty for getting the resort involved. Guilty for potentially making Rachel's situation worse. Guilty for not reaching out to check if she was okay. Noah saw my face and pulled me into a hug. He said feeling guilty was normal but misplaced. That Rachel made her own choices. That I didn't force her to bring Adam to my wedding or demand honeymoon money. That her family's concern didn't erase what she'd done to me. I nodded against his chest. Tried to let his words sink in. Tried to separate my compassion for someone struggling from my need to maintain boundaries with someone who hurt me. A month after the blacklist, I got a LinkedIn message request. I almost ignored it. I rarely checked LinkedIn and usually deleted connection requests from recruiters. But the name caught my eye. It was from Adam's sister. Her name was Jennifer. I'd met her a few times when Adam and I were together. She'd always been nice, but we weren't close. The message was short. Said she needed to talk to me about Rachel and Adam. That she had concerns about their relationship, that she knew it was weird to reach out but didn't have my phone number. Asked if I'd be willing to meet for coffee. I stared at the message for a long time. Didn't know what to think. Why would Adam's sister want to talk to me about his relationship with Rachel? What concerns could she possibly have that involved me? Part of me wanted to delete the message and pretend I never saw it. I didn't want to get involved in whatever drama Adam and Rachel had going on. But another part was curious. What could be so important that Jennifer would track me down on LinkedIn? I talked to Noah about it that night, showed him the message. He frowned reading it, said it was bizarre, that Jennifer reaching out felt like a trap or some kind of manipulation, that I should ignore it and stay out of whatever was happening. I called Dr. Chen the next day and got an emergency appointment, told her about the LinkedIn message, about Sarah's concerns, about feeling pulled back into Rachel and Adam's orbit when I was trying to move on. Dr. Chen asked what I thought Jennifer might want to discuss. I said I had no idea. Maybe she wanted to defend Rachel. Maybe she wanted to tell me to back off. Maybe she knew about the resort blacklist and was mad. Dr. Chen asked if I was curious enough to find out. I admitted I was. She said curiosity was natural, but I should protect myself. That if I decided to meet Jennifer, I should do it in a public place. That I should tell Noah where I'd be. That I should be prepared to leave if the conversation went somewhere uncomfortable. I thought about it for 2 more days. Finally decided to respond. Told Jennifer I'd meet her for coffee at a busy Starbucks near my office. Gave her a date and time. She responded within an hour saying she'd be there. The coffee shop was crowded when I arrived. Jennifer was already sitting at a corner table. She looked nervous. Stood up when she saw me and gave an awkward wave. I got my coffee and sat down across from her. She thanked me for coming. Said she knew it was strange. That she'd been debating whether to reach out for weeks. I waited. Let her talk. Jennifer took a deep breath. Then she said Adam was cheating on Rachel. That he'd been cheating on her the entire time they'd been together. Just like he cheated on me. She said she felt guilty for not warning Rachel. For not saying something sooner. That she was tired of watching her brother hurt people. I sat there processing. Jennifer pulled out her phone. Started showing me screenshots. Dating app profiles with Adam's photos. Messages from women who'd matched with him. Some of the messages were from months ago. Some were from last week. Adam had been actively cheating throughout his relationship with Rachel. Meeting women on apps, going on dates, sleeping with them, all while planning a wedding and asking me to pay for their honeymoon. Jennifer kept scrolling, showed me messages where Adam bragged about having a fiancé but still playing the field. Where he told women he was in an open relationship. Where he made plans to meet up with multiple women in the same week. She said several women had contacted her after matching with Adam and recognizing his last name. That they felt bad when they realized he was lying about being single. That they'd sent her proof. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wasn't surprised. Adam had cheated on me. Of course he'd cheat on Rachel. But seeing the evidence was different. Seeing how blatant and ongoing it was. How many women there were. Jennifer said she'd tried to talk to Adam about it. He denied everything at first. Then admitted it, but said it wasn't serious. That he loved Rachel. That the other women didn't matter. Jennifer told him he needed to tell Rachel the truth or she would. Adam had begged her not to. Said it would ruin everything. That Rachel would be devastated. That he'd stop cheating and be better. Jennifer didn't believe him. She said Adam had been making promises to change his whole life and never followed through. That she was done protecting him. That Rachel deserved to know what kind of person she was marrying. But Jennifer didn't have a way to contact Rachel directly. She only knew me, so she was hoping I'd tell Rachel. Or at least give her Rachel's contact information so Jennifer could tell her herself. I sat there staring at my coffee. This was not what I'd expected. I'd thought maybe Jennifer wanted to defend Adam. Or tell me to leave them alone. Instead, she was asking me to get involved in exposing Adam's cheating. To warn the woman who'd brought my cheating ex to my wedding. The woman who'd demanded I pay for their honeymoon. The woman who'd called me petty and jealous. Part of me wanted to laugh. Part of me wanted to say Rachel deserved exactly what she was getting. That karma was real, and she was about to learn a hard lesson. But another part of me couldn't stand by and watch someone walk into the same trap I'd fallen into. Even if that someone was Rachel. Even if she'd destroyed our friendship. I told Jennifer I needed time to think about it. She said she understood. Gave me her phone number in case I wanted to talk more. Said the wedding was in 3 months. That Rachel should know before then. I left the coffee shop with my head spinning. That night I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about the screenshots Jennifer had shown me. About Adam's messages to those women. About how he'd done the exact same thing to Rachel that he'd done to me. Noah found me awake at 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling. He asked what was wrong. I told him everything Jennifer had said, showed him the text she'd sent with some of the screenshots. Noah's face got hard. He said Adam was disgusting. That he felt sorry for Rachel even though she'd been terrible to us. Then he said I should stay out of it. That I should let Rachel figure it out herself. That she wouldn't believe me anyway. that she'd probably accuse me of lying out of jealousy. He said Rachel had made her choices. She'd picked Adam over our friendship. She'd brought him to our wedding knowing how much he'd hurt me. She'd demanded money and called me petty. Why should I help her now? Why should I get involved in her mess? I said I didn't know. That part of me agreed with him completely, that Rachel didn't deserve my help, but another part couldn't let her marry Adam without knowing the truth. Noah said that was my compassion talking, that I was a good person who didn't want to see anyone get hurt, but that Rachel had shown me who she was, that I needed to believe her and protect myself. He was probably right. He usually was. But I still couldn't sleep. The next morning, I woke up with a decision half-formed in my mind. I needed more perspectives. I texted my therapist asking if she had any emergency slots available. She responded within an hour saying she could see me that afternoon. At work, I barely focused on the client presentation I was supposed to be preparing. Ophelia noticed me staring at my computer screen without typing and asked if I was okay. I told her about Adam's sister and the cheating evidence. She sat down at my desk and said I should absolutely tell Rachel, that staying silent made me complicit. But then she paused and added that Rachel probably wouldn't believe me anyway, that I should prepare for her to accuse me of making everything up. The therapy session that afternoon helped more than I expected. My therapist asked me what I would regret more in 5 years: telling Rachel and having her reject the information, or staying silent and knowing I could have warned her. I didn't have a good answer. She pointed out that my decision shouldn't be about Rachel at all. It should be about what kind of person I wanted to be. Whether I could live with myself if I watched someone walk into the same trap I'd fallen into, even someone who had hurt me badly. That night, Noah and I went to dinner with Tamara and her husband. I brought up the situation over appetizers. Tamara was firmly in the camp of staying out of it. She said Rachel had made her bed and now she could lie in it, that I owed her nothing after what she'd done at our wedding. Her husband disagreed. He said the right thing to do was always the right thing, regardless of how the other person had treated you. That being petty or vindictive just brought you down to their level. I went to bed that night more confused than ever. Over the next few days, I called 3 more friends to get their opinions. 2 said tell her, 1 said don't. I made a list of pros and cons in my journal. Pros of telling Rachel included doing the right thing, preventing her from making a huge mistake and being able to live with myself. Cons included her not believing me, her accusing me of lying out of jealousy and getting sucked back into drama I'd worked hard to escape. The list didn't help. I kept coming back to what my therapist had said about what kind of person I wanted to be. On Thursday evening, Kendrick called me out of nowhere. He said he'd run into Rachel at the grocery store and she'd seemed off, distracted and worried. He'd asked if everything was okay with the wedding planning. Rachel had brushed him off, but then admitted Adam had been distant lately, working late a lot, not answering his phone sometimes. Kendrick said the whole conversation gave him bad vibes. The way Rachel described Adam's behavior sounded exactly like the red flags I'd ignored 3 years ago. The late nights at work, the phone calls he wouldn't take in front of me, the sudden need for privacy and space. My stomach twisted hearing Kendrick describe it. Rachel was living through the exact same warning signs, and she had no idea what they meant. I thanked Kendrick for telling me and hung up. Sat on my couch staring at nothing. Noah came home from his shift and found me like that. I told him about the conversation. He sighed and sat down next to me. Said it sounded like I'd already made my decision. I just needed to admit it to myself. He was right. I couldn't stay silent. Not because Rachel deserved my help. She didn't. But because I deserved to be the kind of person who warned someone about a cheater, even when that someone had treated me terribly. I opened my laptop and started drafting an email to Rachel. Kept the tone completely neutral and factual. No emotion, no accusations, no blame. Just the facts. I explained that Adam's sister had contacted me with concerns, that she'd shown me evidence of Adam cheating throughout their relationship, that I was forwarding the screenshots because Rachel deserved to know the truth before making a permanent commitment. I didn't ask for reconciliation or forgiveness. Didn't even ask her to believe me. Just said I felt obligated to share the information, and she could do with it whatever she wanted. I attached all the screenshots from Adam's sister, the dating app profiles, the messages to other women, the timeline showing he'd been cheating since month 2 of their relationship, dates that overlapped with my wedding in Costa Rica, evidence he'd been with someone else literally the week after proposing to Rachel. My finger hovered over the send button for a full minute. Noah came up behind me and put his hand on my shoulder. Told me he was proud of me for doing the right thing even when it was hard. I closed my eyes and clicked send. The email disappeared from my outbox. I shut my laptop and tried not to think about it. Tried to focus on work and normal life. But every time my phone buzzed, I jumped, expecting Rachel's response. Friday passed with no word from her. Saturday came and went. Sunday morning, I was doing laundry when Noah called me into the living room. He was looking at his phone with a weird expression. Asked if I'd seen Rachel's Facebook post. I'd deactivated my account weeks ago to avoid the drama. Noah showed me his screen. Rachel had posted an hour earlier saying she and Adam were taking a break. That outside interference in their relationship had created problems they needed to work through. That some people couldn't handle seeing others happy and would do anything to cause trouble. The post had 30 comments already, most of them supportive messages telling Rachel to stay strong. A few asked what happened. Rachel hadn't responded to those. I felt sick reading it. She was blaming me for their problems without even knowing about the actual cheating, making me the villain in a story where I'd tried to help her. Noah took his phone back and said this was exactly why he'd told me not to get involved, that Rachel was going to twist everything to make herself the victim no matter what I did. I knew he was right, but I also knew I'd made the correct choice. Rachel could blame me all she wanted. At least I'd given her the information. What she did with it was up to her. I went back to my laundry and tried to put it out of my mind. Monday morning, I was at my desk when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Just 4 words. Thank you for telling me. No context, no explanation, no signature. I stared at the message trying to figure out who'd sent it. The number wasn't one I recognized. I showed it to Ophelia and she said maybe it was Rachel texting from a different phone. Maybe she'd read the email and confronted Adam. Maybe the Facebook post about taking a break was related to the cheating, not to me interfering. I wanted to believe that, but I didn't let myself hope. Tuesday afternoon, Kendrick called again. Said he had news about Rachel and did I want to hear it. My heart started racing, but I told him yes. He said Rachel had confronted Adam with the evidence from my email. That Adam had tried to deny it at first, but eventually admitted everything. Admitted he'd been cheating on her since the beginning. Admitted he'd been with someone else during their engagement. Admitted he'd never planned to be faithful. Rachel had called off the engagement immediately, packed up her stuff from the apartment they'd been sharing, and moved back in with her parents. Adam had apparently tried to convince her to work through it. Said he'd change. Said it didn't mean anything. The same lines he'd used on me 3 years ago. Rachel hadn't fallen for it. She was done. I sat there processing this information. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt sad for Rachel despite everything. Part of me felt nothing at all. Kendrick asked if I was okay and I said I didn't know. He said he thought I'd done the right thing telling her that she would have married Adam and found out the hard way if I hadn't intervened. We hung up and I sat at my desk staring at my computer screen. Wednesday morning, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Rachel's voice came through, shaky and crying. She said she was calling from her mom's phone because she'd blocked my number weeks ago and couldn't figure out how to unblock it. I didn't say anything, just waited. Rachel started apologizing through tears. Said she couldn't believe she'd been so blind about Adam. That she'd thrown away our friendship for a guy who was cheating on her the whole time. That she'd brought him to my wedding and defended him and demanded money for their honeymoon when he was exactly the person I'd warned her about. She said she understood if I never wanted to speak to her again. That she'd been a terrible friend and she deserved to lose me. That looking back, she could see how jealous and competitive she'd been throughout our whole friendship. How she'd made everything about herself. How bringing Adam to my wedding was the worst thing she'd ever done to anyone. The apology felt good to hear even though I wasn't ready to process it. Rachel kept talking, kept crying, kept saying she was sorry. I finally interrupted her. Told her I was glad she knew the truth about Adam. That nobody deserved to marry a cheater. But I also told her I needed time and space to figure out if our friendship could be salvaged. That what she'd done at my wedding wasn't something I could just forgive and forget. That the Facebook posts and the voicemails and the demands for money had done real damage. Rachel went quiet. Then she said she understood. That she knew she'd destroyed everything and she didn't expect me to forgive her. But she wanted me to know she was sorry and she was getting help. Going back to therapy, working on herself, trying to figure out why she'd been so awful. I told her that was good, that she should focus on healing and not worry about our friendship right now. Rachel asked if we could talk again in a few months, after she'd done some work on herself, after things weren't so raw. I said maybe. It was the most honest answer I could give. I hung up with Rachel and sat there staring at my phone. Noah came home from the hospital an hour later and found me still sitting in the same spot. He asked what happened and I told him about the call, about Rachel's apology and her admission that she'd been awful. He pulled me into a hug and said he was proud of me. Told me I'd handled everything with more grace than Rachel deserved. I admitted that part of me had wanted to be petty, wanted to let her marry Adam and find out the hard way what kind of person he was. Noah said taking the high road didn't mean I had to let her back into my life. that I could be the bigger person and still protect myself. He was right. Over the next week, my phone started blowing up with messages from mutual friends. People who'd sided with Rachel during the Facebook drama. People who'd believed her version of events. Now that the truth about Adam was spreading through our friend group, they all wanted to apologize. Some of the messages were genuine. My friend from college sent a long text explaining that Rachel had shown her manipulated screenshots of our conversations. She felt terrible for doubting me. I forgave her. We met for lunch and she cried and apologized again. But others just sent quick sorry messages without any real acknowledgement of how they'd hurt me. One guy who'd commented on Rachel's Facebook post calling me jealous just texted asking if we were cool now. I left him on read. Another friend who'd stopped liking my posts and started liking all of Rachel's reached out, asking if I wanted to grab drinks. I told her I was busy. Some bridges weren't worth rebuilding. Work became my escape from all the social drama. I threw myself into a major consulting project for a tech startup looking to expand internationally. Spent 12-hour days analyzing market data and building financial models. My boss noticed how hard I was working and pulled me into her office one afternoon. She said the client was impressed with my work and wanted me to lead the next phase of the project. Then she offered me a promotion to senior consultant with a significant raise. She specifically mentioned my grace under pressure during a difficult personal time. Said she'd heard through the office grapevine that I was dealing with some friendship issues but never let it affect my work quality. The validation felt incredible. Like proof that I could handle my personal life falling apart and still excel professionally. I called Noah from my car in the parking lot to tell him the news. He was thrilled and said we should celebrate with dinner at my favorite restaurant. But when I got home that night, Noah suggested something else first. He thought we should start couples counseling. Not because we were in crisis, he said quickly, but because the Rachel situation had put strain on our marriage and he wanted to make sure we worked through it properly. I was surprised but agreed. We'd only been married 8 months and already dealt with more drama than most couples face in years. Our first session was awkward. The therapist asked us to describe why we were there, and I struggled to explain without sounding dramatic. Noah jumped in and said our first year of marriage had been overshadowed by my former best friend's betrayal. That we wanted to strengthen our communication and prevent resentment from building. The therapist nodded and asked how the situation had affected us individually. Over the next few sessions, we unpacked everything. Noah admitted he'd felt helpless watching Rachel hurt me. Said the hardest part was seeing me cry on our wedding night and knowing he couldn't fix it. He'd wanted to throw Rachel and Adam out of the reception, but respected my choice to avoid more drama. Now he wondered if that was the right call. I told him I didn't regret it. Making a scene would have ruined the day even more. But I appreciated knowing he'd wanted to defend me. The therapist asked if there were other ways the wedding drama had affected our marriage. I realized I'd been so focused on Rachel's betrayal that I hadn't fully appreciated how solid Noah had been through everything. He'd never made me feel dramatic or crazy. Never suggested I was overreacting or should just get over it. He'd believed me completely and supported every decision I made, even the petty ones like having Lloyd blacklist Rachel from the resort. I started crying in the therapist's office and told Noah I was sorry. That I'd been so caught up in what Rachel had done that I hadn't thanked him enough for standing by me. He reached over and held my hand. Said he didn't need thanks. He just wanted to make sure we came out of this stronger. 3 months passed. Work stayed busy with the promotion and new responsibilities. Noah and I finished our counseling sessions feeling more connected than before. We'd learned better ways to communicate when one of us was stressed. How to support each other without trying to fix everything. Then one morning, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Rachel asking if we could meet for coffee. She said she understood if I said no, but she really wanted to talk in person. I showed Noah the message and he said I should hear her out. That I didn't owe Rachel anything, but maybe I needed closure. I was nervous when I walked into the coffee shop 2 days later. Rachel was already there at a corner table. She looked different, thinner. Her hair was shorter. She stood up when she saw me and gave an awkward wave. I sat down and waited for her to talk. Rachel started by apologizing. A real apology this time. She acknowledged specific things she'd done wrong. Bringing Adam to my wedding. Demanding I pay for her honeymoon. The Facebook post calling me jealous and toxic. She said she'd been in therapy twice a week since the breakup with Adam. Working on herself and trying to understand why she'd acted so terribly. Her therapist had helped her see patterns in her behavior. Ways she'd been competitive and jealous throughout our friendship. How she'd made everything about herself even when it should have been about me. I listened without interrupting. Rachel kept talking. Said she knew our friendship couldn't go back to what it was. That she'd broken my trust in ways that couldn't be fixed. But she wanted me to know she was genuinely sorry and working to become a better person. I took a breath and told her I appreciated the apology. that it meant something to hear her acknowledge what she'd done. But I wasn't sure we could be friends again. Too much had happened. Too much trust was broken. And looking back, I could see our friendship had been unhealthy for a long time. She'd always needed to compete with me. Always needed to be the center of attention. I'd made excuses for it because we'd been friends since middle school. But that didn't make it okay. Rachel surprised me by agreeing. Said her therapist had pointed out the same toxic patterns. How she'd gotten jealous when I got engaged to Noah. How bringing Adam to my wedding was partly about taking attention away from me on my special day. She wasn't asking for reconciliation. Just wanted to express genuine remorse and hope that someday I could forgive her. Even if we were never close again. I stood up from the coffee shop table and Rachel stood too. We moved toward each other slowly, both of us clearly unsure how to end this conversation. The hug was stiff and brief, our arms barely touching each other's shoulders before we pulled away. Rachel suggested we could text occasionally, check in every few months maybe. No pressure to force anything. I agreed that sounded okay, knowing deep down that our friendship would never look the same again. Walking to my car afterward, I felt this weird mix of sad and relieved at the same time. The 15-year-old version of me who became best friends with Rachel in middle school would be crushed to see us like this. But the current version of me knew this was probably the healthiest ending we could have. Noah and I had our final couples counseling session on a Thursday evening. Our therapist reviewed all the communication tools we'd learned over the past few months. She pointed out how much stronger we'd become at expressing our needs without attacking each other. Noah mentioned he felt more confident speaking up when he was stressed instead of bottling everything inside. I admitted I'd gotten better at accepting help instead of trying to handle every crisis alone. The therapist smiled and said something that stuck with me. She explained that most couples don't face a major betrayal and social crisis in their first year of marriage. The fact that we'd survived Rachel's wedding disaster and come out closer proved our relationship had serious strength. We left that session holding hands, both of us feeling proud of the work we'd done together. 6 months after my Costa Rica wedding, Noah and I finally booked our real honeymoon. We picked Japan because neither of us had been there before, and it felt completely separate from any Rachel or Adam memories. Tokyo was busy and exciting, with tiny restaurants tucked into random buildings and vending machines on every corner. Kyoto had beautiful temples where we walked through gardens and took pictures like regular tourists. We spent one whole day at a hot spring resort in the mountains, just relaxing and being together without any outside drama. Every experience felt fresh and untainted by the past. Noah kept joking that this was our do-over honeymoon, the one we deserved from the start. Making new memories in a place that had nothing to do with Rachel and Adam felt like taking back our story. We weren't defined by what happened at our wedding anymore. We were just us, building our life together on our own terms. I'm sitting at my desk right now, looking at the promotion announcement my boss sent out last week. The consulting firm gave me a senior position with 3 people reporting to me. Work challenges me in good ways, pushing me to grow without draining me emotionally. Noah and I have settled into married life with routines that work for both our schedules. His shifts at the hospital are still crazy sometimes, but we've learned how to stay connected even when life gets hectic. Rachel and I exchange texts maybe once a month, usually just checking in or sharing something funny. We're not best friends anymore, and honestly, I'm completely fine with that. Some relationships serve their purpose for a certain period of your life, then naturally fade when you both change. That doesn't erase the good memories from middle school and high school when our friendship was real. I've built a smaller friend group now with people like Ophelia from work, and some of Noah's friends who've become my friends too. These friendships feel more balanced and healthy than what I had with Rachel. Noah proved himself when everything fell apart, showing me what real partnership looks like. I'm excited about our future together, about the life we're creating without toxic people holding us back. Everything feels lighter now, like I finally let go of weight I'd been carrying for years without realizing it.